This is a journey, and it begins in a belief of the importance of developing a shared understanding and a direct involvement of local Aboriginal communities in the school's educational programs.
It's just like learning the alphabet.
Over a long period of time, the Aboriginal Curriculum Unit at the New South Wales Board of Studies had worked in collaboration with schools and with Aboriginal parents and community members on the development of effective teaching and learning programs that were designed to support the learning needs of Aboriginal students.
How can we make a boring curriculum exciting for our kids?
About 3 years ago, we were approached by the New South Wales AECG, and we decided to work in collaboration with them on running a series of educational forums across New South Wales to talk about these programs.
Aboriginal people are committed. They've committed to education. They're committed to improving the outcomes for their kids. They want the kids to succeed at school, and they want to be part of the process. So that's why we need schools to look at their culture and change their culture to include Aboriginal people within the process after school, within the decision making.
The board has been working closely with schools and facilitating the development of a range of educational programs that have used local resources and local knowledge and local expertise to develop programs to suit the requirements and needs of Aboriginal students.
This next 2 terms we're running a program that's actually been developed by our community and it's going to be run by our community.
Aboriginal parents and the community were absolutely integral to the development of these programs. It was their knowledge and their skills that made these programs what they were. While the board has worked with schools on a wide range of programs, this project will focus particularly on 2 initiatives of schools and communities: mathematics in Indigenous contexts and Aboriginal languages in New South Wales. We'll meet 4 of these schools and communities in New South Wales who are making the journey to change together. Browley Public School in the New South Wales South Coast and St Joseph's Primary School, Walgett, in northwestern New South Wales, have both been using Aboriginal languages as a main focus of their curriculum engagement. Gilgandra Public School and Gilgandra High School in central western New South Wales have been developing a Maths in Indigenous Context program with combined school and community resources. Each school highlights the challenges and the successes and exemplifies key elements raised by establishing sustainable school-community partnerships.
I think a community language teacher brings to a language-specific program is their background knowledge. They should be able to tell you where you come from, you should be able to know your land, you should be able to know your people.
How we can involve the community in decision making and things that go on in the school, but it's also drawing on the strength of the people in the community.
Our maths program has actually opened up the doors for the other people on the teaching staff.
In the long run, I think it helps the kids and their attitude to school, how they perceive school. If they see the community and their parents being involved and a part of it, it gives them a positive outlook.
Each school and community will make this journey in their own unique way. As a guide, strategies have been developed to help each school to build their own project. We'll be looking at 5 steps to assist schools and communities by setting them on a path for achieving and sustaining localised school and community partnerships. They are: building on the aspirations for change, building partnerships, planning together, sustaining commitment, benefiting from positive outcomes. This DVD is accompanied by a handbook. When you see this symbol, you could pause the DVD and go to the handbook for further information.
Trying to sort of see all the different angles that people are coming from with what they think community capacity might be. It can be a simple.
This journey begins with the coming together of teachers with parents and community members who see the need to bring about substantial changes to current teaching and learning practices.
Communication.
Often schools and communities acknowledge the need to investigate fresh approaches, ones that engage all students and are particularly responsive to the needs and aspirations of Aboriginal people.
So they work with Aboriginal aides.
This initial stage of the journey focuses on establishing authentic collaboration, that is, genuine and sustainable. Some questions that you may consider. Collaboration between the school and the community. What does it really mean to you? How do you identify a need? What is the fundamental issue that you want to address? And whose problem is this? What does the school and community want to achieve? Who are the key players? Who needs to be involved? And developing and articulating a vision of the future. How would you like it to look for your school, community and students?
During my teaching career, I've taught a lot of Indigenous children, and I've had this strong belief that we hadn't been catering for their different learning styles, and often they were the child that was left in the back of the classroom who at the end of the year you thought, now have I really achieved anything? And their learning was not positive for them. So I thought going into this project would be a positive way to put some of my beliefs and ideas into practice.
52 what? Meters.
Our Aboriginal families, prior to this program, there was had a reluctance to become really involved, even a reluctance to participate in P&C, a reluctance to serve on school council, a reluctance even to share in partnership with the learning of their sons and daughters and children in their care. And that's changed.
Well, scary at start. I didn't know where to go with it. I didn't know what links I'd start with and what I'd do. I thought we'd send out some letters and information to all the parents asking if they'd like to be involved and letting them know what the project was about.
What are you doing for literacy and what are you doing for numeracy?
In terms of advice from colleagues is to identify areas of learning need, and that we did, to seek outside collegial support and critical feedback, because the task has not been straightforward and simple. We've made mistakes and we've got back on track, and the advice we've got has been friendly but really beneficial.
From these experiences, consider common strategies for commencing your project. Consider engaging a critical friend and/or a community guide or facilitator. Allow time to gain clarity in your program. It will not happen overnight. Prioritise actions and work on the critical issues, and take the time to ensure that all stakeholders have agreed on the project aims and outcomes. By using strategies such as these, schools and communities will be better able to identify and clarify program needs, consider the roles and responsibilities of participants, and develop effective actions or approaches.
Docs, health workers, all those that involved our children.
Once your school and community have decided together to make a change, the next step is to build the relationship that will help facilitate it.
We've had quite a few meetings with different parts of our community, both at school, down at the Apollo House, which is part of our East Estate, which we're doing down there.
How can your school involve the community and bring the community to the classroom? It is important to respect the various school and community areas of expertise and knowledge, and the contribution all players can make to the program. Look at how you can break through the barriers. Sometimes these are structural and sometimes they are personal, and these need to be addressed. How can you identify key people for support and recognise people's skills, strengths and inputs? And how do you build genuine links, both personal and professional, that are built on trust and reciprocity?
At Brownlee Public School, community capacity has a whole range of facets. It requires us to be a two-way street. We want the community to be part of our school and come into our school. At the same time, we want our school to become part of the local community, and we take our kids and our school out to the wider community and involved in our community projects with a whole range of people, land care, local lands council, dune care and things like that.
By working with the Aboriginal community, I have learnt that there is a wealth of untapped knowledge and skills which we, as members of the school, didn't know. There is so many resources and so much history, so much practical learning that has been out there, but no one has actually tapped it.
I think once Tanya did the groundwork and informed everybody, we then just had meetings. We had lots of meetings. We made a point of having them here at the school to get people comfortable in coming to the school, and that worked well.
It's shorter than that. Do you think that's right?
11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
I think at first it was the maths because we pushed it was a maths program. It scared a lot of the parents. They wanted it to happen. They knew it was a good thing, but as for involvement, they weren't too keen. So until we sort of said no, the maths part will be looked after mainly by the maths teachers. We want you because we need a cultural aspect of it. And that's when they sort of become more comfortable, I think, as time went on and the projects went on and being involved.
Another challenge was actually convincing the staff that this was going to be a worthwhile activity for us to pursue and that it did have ramifications for the whole school.
The non-Aboriginal teachers have learnt a lot about our culture just from the language program that we've done so far, and that has been really positive because a lot of the teachers have had very little to do with Aboriginal community members, and this is giving them an insight into how our culture works and how we work as a community. I guess it's getting rid of some of the stereotypes, basically.
It doesn't have to be the whole booklet, but it could be just the lessons.
Well, the non-Aboriginal teachers at the beginning weren't very confident about teaching anything about our Aboriginal culture because they don't know it. A lot of them studied way back in the years where you didn't do mandatory Aboriginal studies as a part of your teacher training. The catch cry has been for a long time that they won't teach about Aboriginal culture because they don't want to offend. These days, I guess because we've done a lot of culture lessons with the children that they are actually a part of, they feel a little bit more confident about talking about our culture because they can always refer back to things that we have said or parts of the culture that we've discussed in the classroom with the children when we're not there and they're in the classroom on their own.
From the experiences you've just seen, reflect on the common strategies for building partnerships. Do not rush the process. Start small. Mediate meetings in and out of the school. Work with key community and school members. Have regular discussions to achieve clear and common understanding about your project objectives and strategies. You'll have setbacks, but understand why. Follow through on agreed strategies. And build in expectations of success that are achievable, and divest control and ownership to build a broader base of support. Using strategies such as these, schools and communities will be building a close and trusting team, developing strong objectives for the project, linking to the broader community, and all of those should be addressing the learning needs of students.
We want the consultation so that we can make Aboriginal education better for our kids, better for your kids, better for
Once you have
everybody,
established
better
these
for
relationships,
teachers.
the next
And
step
if we
is to
don't
build
have
on them by reaffirming agreed program goals. Moving forward is dependent on turning ideas into practical, achievable steps.
When you touch it, you can also hear the word being said to help with pronunciation.
Planning your project could include progressing purposefully but slowly. Empowerment of the community at this critical stage comes through real involvement. Genuine collaboration is crucial at this point. It depends on the relationship between the community and the classroom teacher, and the invitation to participate in ways that community members are confident and engaged in the teaching and learning in a way that acknowledges areas of expertise. Identifying milestones. Planning for the acquisition of appropriate resources, both human and physical. The success of your project will hinge on leadership and advocacy from all team members.
and building for action learning, deep and evolving.
To actually involve in a program that's achievable, step by step, that follows a logistical sequence, but is significant in terms of what you're trying to do. And that's sort of what we've done, and I think that's been the basis of the success. And the other thing is to actually know that you need to develop the momentum and then sustain it.
The Durga Jamanj program has involved our Aboriginal community in the school and has really opened doors for them. The Aboriginal community see that by teaching this program, their language and their culture in our school, we're valuing themselves.
You have to get your tongue underneath your top teeth to make the dental sound. The, n.
G. Okay.
These people have been pivotal in the way we've developed our program. We've needed to consult with them and talk with them and get their permission to run the program. They've also provided us with a huge amount of resources because the knowledge that is held by these people is enormous, and it's something that can only build and enhance our program for our kids.
I think it's important that the Aboriginal community are involved in the planning, the whole school planning that goes on in the school, and especially when it comes to programs that involve their own Aboriginal culture. I think it empowers them to know that their culture and their language is being taught in the school, and I think it's a really positive thing for any school to do.
Our Aboriginal community members don't want to sit in boring meetings. You've got to look at how you meet and what sorts of things you do when you are in the meeting. Maybe we need to look at taking those into the community and having our planning meetings in the community rather than always expecting the community to come to us.
If you're thinking about starting up a language program, one of the most important things of all is to have a good principal on side to make sure that the linguist that is there is aware and knows the protocol to follow before he can introduce those things to the community and to the school.
Success in achieving project outcomes and maintaining the relationship comes with regular and effective planning.
I've been involved with the Aboriginal language program now since 1996 when I started learning it. I started teaching it as I was learning it.
That as the dash at the end tells us that it's a suffix.
First of all, we only taught Aboriginal children who had permission from their parents to learn aloud. And of course, as years went by and Brother John Wright came on the scene, who was the principal, he integrated that and implemented it into all classes of the school. And of course we've been involved with the Board of Studies working with the K10 syllabus, and we basically do our programming from that so that it's taught at the same level as any other subject within the school environment.
The language that we have at our school, Uraluralai, is akin to Latin languages in its case structure. Over time, the language became more and more complex because we had trained language teachers. There were more and more teaching material available, dictionaries, grammars, that type of thing. And so we got to the stage where I personally felt that the language could be taught not only as an adjunct to cultural activities, but could be looked at as a language standing on its own. The language program at the moment goes right through from kindergarten to year 6, and that's not something that's just happened overnight. It's taken something like 4 or 5 years to develop.
Some of the teaching resources that we've put out over the past few years is the language dictionary, obviously. We've got the Yugal CD and the songbook, so any school can pick that up. We've got a family book that we made, 100 words or so, that we wanted the school to give out to the kids so they could take it home to their parents and they could start speaking as well. We've got some of the names of the Narran River. We've got a booklet done of that.
What are some of the key strategies for building shared planning of your school's community project? You will need to break down complex tasks. This will help all team members prioritise collective and individual activities and allow them to understand their role in achieving overall success. Create a timeline with milestones to manage the project and evaluate key steps. Gather evidence of your success along the way and look at what resources are available. By using strategies such as these, schools and communities will have developed a concise plan and access to broader community resources. Once the program's going, and once people are actually actively involved in it, bringing their part of the project together, it's very important for those people who are leading this project to work out strategies that are going to continue to sustain it. The program will evolve, it will change over time, but it's very important that those things are accounted for and that you constantly look for ways to re-engender and reinvigorate people's interest in this project. The key challenge is to develop strategies that allow for change so that the project can evolve and be sustained, even when team members move on. Forge broader community links that grow the project, both outside and inside the school. Focus on key community leaders, ensuring that they are informed and involved. Involve both teachers and schools and encourage them to be part of the process. Building a broad base of support adds to those who feel that they have a stake in the success of this program.
One of the real challenges in the community is we can't move without community support, and so we've always got to move very slowly to build up our community confidence in the language while we're going ahead in the school as well.
Want to do it quick? What are you going to do? You're going to pop your head up and have a look around, okay? Because you're thinking that's a danger.
To take it easy, you know, like if something to went to someone and they got a negative outcome, and that just to continue with them, but you know, work out another way of approaching them.
Change from $5 if you've spent $3.45 then. Don't give up, but do it one day at a time. Don't rush it. Build on the people that are interested. You can see that that are half willing to participate. I think any that you can find like that, keep getting them into school for different reasons, for different meetings, for sporting things, whatever links you can find at all, and keep encouraging that and good feedback. And even acknowledging them downtown or anywhere where you're out in the community yourself, away from school, so they still see that their input has been valued all over and your communication's still going on elsewhere as well.
Instead of doing it all one by one and not knowing what's everyone else doing, so we've got programs going and that might fit in with these, and that so we're more contact with that. You know, by the end of this year, there'll be a lot of kids that'll be more confident in themselves, hopefully. Yeah.
When the language was first introduced in the school, at our next P&F meeting, I had about 5 or 6 parents come that had never been to P&F meetings before, and I thought, hello, you know, there's something on here. And sure enough, after a while, somebody said, oh, well, our child is learning this Yirralurrui language. If our child went to the Northern Territory, they wouldn't understand what he was saying. And so my answer to that was, if your child was learning German and went to the Northern Territory, they wouldn't understand what he was saying either.
People grow, people change, they move on. You've got to keep those links, you've got to keep visiting the community, inviting the community, and it's a never-ending thing. It should never stop, because once you stop, then you break those links.
Yes.
So to make it sustainable, you've got to keep going out. You've got to just keep inviting them, keep asking for their input, get them involved more.
Yep. So just keep those links open, encourage more input into projects or whatever's happening. Just let them more be aware of what's happening, and keep partnerships going.
Consider the experiences of the schools you have just seen and think about what your school can do to sustain its commitment. You can never quite anticipate the directions that your project will take. Grasp new possibilities and build on them.
Because we can't just do this as a group.
Take the opportunity to reflect on some of the positive outcomes of enhancing school and community partnerships. You should expect professional growth for teachers and community members, everyone to benefit, staff and students in the sharing of knowledge. Your community and school will have established a deeper understanding of the important issues and new solutions to them, and that the two-way respect of cultures developed through the program will be enriched by the connections made by the school and the community.
In the long run, I think it helps the kids and their attitude to school, how they perceive school. If they see the community and their parents being involved and a part of it, it gives them a positive outlook, and I think it encourages them to have more of a go at school, be a part of it.
Our maths program has actually opened up the doors for the other people on the teaching staff. When they saw that we were involved in a project, they started to become interested and see what they could do with the local community. We have had since then the Aboriginal Studies class regularly goes to the primary schools and gives lessons, shares their resources with them.
Probably the big thing that I learnt about the Aboriginal community was that they really do care about what their children learn and how much they learn, and they're worried about it, which is a bit of a misconception amongst a lot of teaching staff, that they don't really care because we don't see them up at school, they don't come to parent-teacher night, things like that. When this program involved the Aboriginal community in the planning stages and then in the implementation of the program, they got behind it and they really became involved.
A really major part of any language program is that, sure, you're teaching the children and the other teachers the language, but more importantly, you're tying it into our culture. So they're learning a lot about our culture now than what they would have been before the language program came along, because teachers never taught about Aboriginal culture.
Another aspect of that is that having the Aboriginal community involved with the school, impacting on the rest of the community, is it gives a presence to the Aboriginal culture in the area. The non-Aboriginal community gets to know our Aboriginal community, and it builds the confidence of the Aboriginal community when working in the school community as well.
If you're looking at it as an Aboriginal language teacher, then it's people like us Karen and myself, that people and children would be looking at as role models.
We were actually learners in the whole journey with the students. We did lots of activities where the children took over and became the teachers, and we just went along as a group and learnt with them.
Each school's journey will be unique. What you need to do is to draw upon your resources and your community and your teachers and their skills and knowledge. But having said that, it is important to understand that there are some common elements, some common things which will be established and which will have been displayed across many programs. One of those common elements is about empowering people to make a change, to make a difference, to be involved, to be actively engaged in the program. It's really important that all the players, the teachers, the community and the broader school community can all feel that they have a part to play in improving the educational outcomes for Aboriginal students.
As sweet as beautiful honey, with the swing of an untamed bee, a star up in the sky, just as bright as the midday sun, a light for all to see, up there for you and me. Ngaru Yoga Yamil, Ngaru Yoga Yamil.